I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, May the 19th, brought to you in part by Macrocin by Bimeda. Pay for what you need, not for what you don't. Macrocin is proven efficacy at an affordable upfront price. For more information, go to macrocin.com. Also, Joplin Regional Stockyards in Carthage, Missouri. A lot of people thinking this market's kind of topped out, but they've been waiting. They wanted to get the extreme top, so here come the cattle. They're expecting 10,000 head here for the regular feeder cattle auction on Monday. They're going to start early at 5 o'clock in the morning, so they'll be on big bunches by 7 and then get them moved right through there before it gets too hot. Got a bunch of sales coming up in June that you want to take note of at Joplin. On the 5th of June, they've got a primetime livestock video. That's on a Thursday. That's a 1 o'clock afternoon start. The next day, on the 6th of June, Joplin's going to have a special cow sale, and that's going to be on a Friday. It's normally not on a Friday, normally on a Wednesday afternoon, but a special Friday cow sale there at Joplin Regional Stockyards. Then on the 19th, they're going to have a Thursday value-added special, and they'll have a lot of fall-born calves in there that have been all their shots, long time weaned, the whole protocol there for JRS's wean back program, so get ready for those. And then on July the 1st, of course, they're having the Big Bang sale. That's the big primetime livestock video, the biggest video sale that Joplin does, and it gets bigger every year. They're going to be having that over at Pittsburgh, Kansas at the casino. So get ready for those big special sales at Joplin. And for more information on all that, go to joplinstockyards.com. Was that the top? Did we see the top last week, or are we on our way down the hill? What's the deal? We saw a big key reversal on Wednesday on your cattle futures. I mean, a big key reversal, and it was very bearish for those that watch the technicals. And since most of the people that are on the long side of the board are watching the technicals, they're going to be thinking that this market's topped out and moving down, and a lot of your commodity brokers will tell you that. Now the fundamental guys are not sure yet. You know, we're still seeing extremely tight numbers of all classes of cattle. They're going to get progressively tighter as we start to keep heifers back. There has been some signs of herd rebuilding here. We've seen some heifers being kept. I still think we're going to see some heifers that were supposed to be kept, or folks thought they were going to keep them early this spring, and then they come down and the markets come up and they've got some weight on them, and they think, shoot, I'm just going to shuck them, and they can't they can't resist the price that they're going to bring. And I think we're going to see some of that, especially at some of these big barbecue specials that we see up in the northern plains coming up early this summer. But I think the market has topped out for now. Do I think we're falling off a cliff? No, but I think it's going to be very volatile here because the board is really going to jack with the market, and because of those bearish technicals, and when it does that, we're going to see big fall-offs there. Of course, that's going to affect your cash market because you've got hedgers and you've got people, using that to protect themselves, and so they're going to be backing up if the cattle won't pencil and things like that. So we'll see that, and then we'll get to points where the supply and demand fundamentals will take back over and then pull the market back up. So thinking it's going to be very volatile going forward, and like I've been telling you guys, we're getting close to Memorial Day. It's coming up this weekend, Memorial Weekend, so that is always kind of an annual time when we see the receipts drop off. And so if you don't have really good quality cattle and big strings of them, it's hard to make a feeder market. Now we've got a lot of specials coming up, just like the one I told you at Joplin, that weanback special on June the 19th. And then there'll be barbecue sales. We just saw a big barbecue sale up in South Dakota that was very impressive, but there's going to be a lot of barbecue specials and times, and when they don't have a sale every week, it's going to be easier for them to gang up and have big runs for a special sale. So we'll see that, and whenever they have those, we're going to see very impressive prices. But people are getting all the cattle turned out, and so when all the cattle are turned out and we don't have a lot of stocker demand, we're going to see the market tail off a little bit. That's just the way it goes, guys. But you're still going to need cattle to go into your feedlots, and they're going to give all they can, and it's going to be competitive for them, and they're going to go after the best cattle. And you know, the packers have really been resisting this market here. And just like I thought, this past week they weren't able to resist giving higher prices again, but they weren't that much higher. And we saw your cattle feeders selling those cattle, and they're probably not going to be able to be as aggressive with their asking prices going forward. And so we're just going to see a kind of a steadiness here in your fat cattle arena. And you know, the packers have been paying a lot, and everybody says they've been running red ink, and I wonder about that. Of course, they've been having trouble getting the box beef cutout values up there where they want them. But you're going to have a lot of hand-to-mouth buying from wholesale purchasers there because it's getting to be grilling season, and a lot of holidays coming up. We got Father's Day, we got Memorial Weekend, we got a lot of things that's going to clear those shelves, and so those buyers are going to have to come in hand to mouth, and they'll get on that spot market that's reported there in your box beef cutouts. So we'll see that coming up. But really, your cattle people have been bailing out the packers through this whole rally that we've seen to these all-time record prices. If we haven't had the huge carcasses that these cattle feeders have taken them to, of course your packers have led them into that with a carrot by taking away all of the discounts on the heavy carcasses. So the cattle have been gaining so well. I mean, just for the last couple of years, really, we haven't seen disappointing gains in your feedlot or on cattle turned out or anywhere. The gains have just been very impressive. I got to give a lot of that to the genetics, because these cattle, I mean, these really high genetic cattle can just gain so much weight. We've never seen it before in our history, but and these cattle are still gaining efficiently up to those heavy weights. But when the pounds are worth so much money, your cattle feeders and your producers and your backgrounders are going to keep doing that. And we've seen excellent weight gains on cattle turned out on winter forage this past winter. The cattle that were on wheat gained their absolute heads off. People saw gains they've never seen before. Likely going to see gains like that again as they turn cattle out on grass. The ryegrass cattle gained well where they had enough moisture to have plenty of ample forage there to graze. But those impressive weight gains and the heavy carcasses have kind of bailed the packers out a little bit because it's giving them tonnage. But let's talk about your board for last week. June live cattle futures, Monday was up 215. We were still in the big rally. Tuesday down 50, and we thought, well, what was going on there? But the board was very, very volatile. And then Wednesday was that real pivotal day, and your June live cattle ended up being down 237. Then Thursday down another 277. Friday there was some profit taking there, so it was back up $1.05. But your June live cattle futures ended the week at 212.22. August ended the week at 206.75. May feeder cattle Monday was up 512, still gaining ground, going. That was a big day last Monday. Probably won't see another big up day like that for a while. Tuesday was down 27 cents. Wednesday was that big day. It was down 3 1/4 after peaking and then dropping there late in the session. Thursday was down 3.40. Friday was up 67 cents, but your May feeder cattle ended the week at 296.85. August ended the week at 297.60. July corn ended the week at 443.5. Beans for July ended the week at 10.50 a bushel, and hard red winter wheat for July ended the week at 516.5. Talk about your fat cattle trade up through Thursday at 2 o'clock when they turn that information in. We saw 56,800 head of direct fed cattle sales in your 5-area feeding region, and that's pretty good. We saw a lot of people selling cattle thinking that the market may have topped for a while and they wanted to cash in on the big price, so we saw a lot of people selling those, and the market was a little bit higher. Again, live sales of fat steers and heifers ranged from 218 to 231. That was mostly steady with the previous week, and your weighted average for live steers last week in the 5 area was 226.36. That was up another $1.56 on your weighted average compared to the previous week's weighted average, so still gaining ground. Dress sales from 350 to 362. Now that was $1 to $2 lower, but your weighted average in your 5 area on dress steers was $1.70 higher than the previous week's weighted average at 357.76. Had some more trade on Friday, some more cleanup sales there. Through 2 o'clock on Friday, we saw 3,900 head sell. That was 29,150 in Iowa for the week. Live sales in Iowa on Friday reported from 225 to 229, so pretty steady with what they were bringing through the week there and late in the week. And then dress sales in Iowa on Friday at 358. Nebraska sold 3,400. They sold 22,800 for the week. Negotiated cash, live negotiated cash sales in Nebraska on Friday 229. Dress sales from 354 to 358. Now Kansas just sold 400 head on Friday, and they only sold 5,300 for the week. They had a bigger movement the week before, but live sales in Kansas on Friday were 220, and it was mostly 220 late in the week in the Southern Plains. They've let the Northern Plains get away from them with the big premiums up there because they just haven't been as good of negotiated sellers as your northern feedlots have been. But dress sales in Kansas at 358. Texas sold another 200 head on Friday. They sold nearly 7,500 for the week, which is pretty decent for them. And all we saw on Friday was some mixed sales at 220. Now for the week, and as a whole, your market in the Northern Plains was $2 higher, from 227 to 230 for the most part, and 355 to 358 for the most part, which was mostly steady dressed. And your Southern Plains were steady to $2 higher at 220 late in the week there. Box beef cutout values gained the ground last week, and they're going to have to do that if these packers want to get back into black, if they are in the red. But choice cuts, your weighted average on all of last week's sales on choice cuts, 350 smooth. That was up 435 compared to the previous week's weighted average. But your late sales on Friday afternoon were another 2.5 higher than that, higher than the weighted average at 350, 250 almost. But dress or your select sales, all of last week's select sales weighted average was 337.42. That was up 554. And your late select sales on Friday afternoon were nearly 5.5 higher than that at 342, or nearly $5 higher at 342.39. Your choice select spread on your weighted average last week on all of your sales was 12.58, and all of that information based on 556 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings. Your slaughter, 566,000 last week, pretty disappointing, but it was 7,000 better than the more disappointing slaughter the week before. But 31,000 fewer cattle were slaughtered last week than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. I'm coming to you from College Station, Texas. On site here, we are having a meeting, those of us, my co-workers with NationalBeefWire, meeting up with Dr. Rodrigo, who bases and does his manufacturing of Fairpiece right here in College Station, Texas. And so we're going to have a meeting with him. I'm going to record a video where I'm going to be interviewing Dr. Rodrigo, and we're just coming down here to learn even more about Fairpiece, that revolutionary product that is scientifically proven, so we can do a better job promoting his product. But if you're interested in it, check them out at fairpiece.com. Talk about your feeder cattle market, brought to you by Specialty Risk Insurance. They're working to protect your livelihood. Your real-time index based on an 800-pound cash auction steer up through your middle 12 states ended the week under $300. We were up there for about a week at $299.39. It was down $1.49 from the end of the previous week. So, and I don't think we're going to see it go back up over $3 for a while. And your latest CME cash feeder cattle index ended the week at $300.79, but it'll be coming down off of that early in the week. Talk about your big sales late last week or over the weekend. The biggest, and it was a huge one, the barbecue special at Harried Livestock Market in Harried, South Dakota. That 8,800 head there. Hadn't had a big feeder sale there for a while, so didn't really have any good comparisons, but they had big strings of fancy fall calves in there, replacement heifers, as good as you can find anywhere. Didn't have a lot of grazing cattle, but had some fancy grazing cattle in. Of course, a lot of big, nice, heavy feeders in there. But Harried was your NationalBeefWire stick-out sale of the day, and they you start running the numbers. It was very impressive still, and this was after the board fell and after everybody kind of got scared, as it looked like the market was having a big turnaround. But they had 243 head of the heavy 5-weight steers. They averaged 572 with a weighted average price of $405.55. The light 6-weight steers, they had 239 of them. They averaged 623 at $384.55. There were 338 head of the heavy 6-weights. Those would be just right to turn out grass up there. They weighed 684 with a weighted average price of $352.09. Now on the 7-weight steers, not as many of them. Only 264 head of the 7-weight steers. They averaged 746 with a weighted average price of $337.61. There were 357 head of the 8-weight steers. They averaged 841 at $307.52, and 900 head of the 9-weight feeder steers at Harried, South Dakota averaged 953 with a weighted average price of $279.85. That's several replacement quality heifers in there that sold for replacements. They had 132 in the light 8s. They averaged 830 at $309.89 heifers, guys, for replacements. And 142 head of the heavier 8-weight replacement heifers averaged 878 at $299.21. Some individual quotes from around. They had a heck of a week at Campbellsville, Kentucky at the Bluegrass Stockyards location up there. They were a big time quote. I think the biggest quote I had for the day one day this last week. And then they had a big Holstein steer special on Saturday. They sold well for the market there. 54 Holstein steers weighed 488 and bring 311. DVAuction broadcaster also in Shakota, Oklahoma. Shakota Livestock Market sold 70 steer calves. They weighed 540 and bring 382 on Friday. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere late last week or over the weekend, and your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of Bloomington Livestock Exchange in Bloomington, Wisconsin. It was 65 steers, weighed 816 at $313, just like nothing ever happened, guys. And that's your feeder flash for Monday.